2015, I purchased this Jeep Wrangler JKU, and I never imagined it would get to the point that we're at now. Only about a month or so ago, I went to Dan over at Neeley's Restoration, talked to the guys there, and I had a vision in mind of what I wanted to do with this Jeep. It was very capable with the 2.5-inch lift and 35s, however, I wanted to go bigger and stronger. So essentially what we did was we lifted it to a 4-inch lift on 38s now. Obviously you can't just throw 38s on a Jeep Wrangler. There's a lot of things that you have to do to make it strong enough to support the big tires. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode of Trail Expedition. Wheels and tires. It seems like a good place to start. So we went with the Milestar Patagonia MTs. These are a 38 by 13 by 17-inch tire. I went with the Milestar Patagonias, one, because they're cheap. I ran these on the JK when they're in 35s, and I looked at other tires, and just for the dollar per dollar, I mean, you really can't beat the Milestars. Yeah, they're not going to last 40, 50,000 miles. However, I'll just get new tires at that time, seeing as these are almost half the price of, big name brand tires, like your Nittos and your Toyos and all those. The wheel I went with is the Yukon Rebound Pro wheel. It's a relatively new wheel. I think it came out like a year or two ago. The reason why I went with this wheel is it's an actual beadlock. It's a street legal beadlock. It's not a beadlock in the traditional sense where it's got the ring that normally goes around. It's got these little bolts, and these bolts, when you put them in, you have to kind of look up the dynamics of it, but essentially it pinches the bead on the tire, so it acts in the way of a beadlock. I've seen a lot of videos on this where these guys that run these are airing down to like 5 psi, 3 psi, going through crazy obstacles and not losing beads. So that's why I wanted to go with these tires and these wheels. It just seemed like the perfect combo for what I want to do. So to stuff these 38s under here, I had to obviously go taller and I had to go stronger with the lift and the axle setup. So let's talk about that next. So the lift kit that I went with was the 4-inch Teraflex Alpine lift kit. This is not an easy lift kit to install. It has to be welded on. It's not a bolt-on. Awesome lift kit. The guys over at Neeley's feel like it's netted me more than 4 inches of lift. I really didn't measure beforehand, so I couldn't really tell you. I can tell you that this thing barely fits in my garage. We have a standard 7-foot garage door, and it clears it by about 1.5 inches. So the Teraflex Alpine kit does come with the Falcon Series 3 shocks. These are the adjustable shocks. Essentially you can do different settings. There's 1, 2, and 3 are the main settings. 1 is very soft, 3 is very stiff, and then if you put it on 2, you have like micro adjustments you can do as well. Right now we just have it set on 3, which is the firmest setting. Crawling underneath the Jeep here, we have the Ultimate 44 that we replaced the Dana 30 with. This is a 2015 JKU Sport model, so it comes with the Dana 30 up front. So we took that out, got the Ultimate 44 in, and then we have the 44 in the rear, which has the Ultimate 44 cover as well. I did re-gear to 488. I was contemplating between 488 and 513 Yukon gears. I just went with the 488s just because I want to take this thing 75 miles down the expressway still and not have the engine screaming too much. The Ultimate 44 is trussed with an Artec truss kit, gussets. The guys over at Neeley's painted it all that kind of silver gray color for me. It makes it really pop. Looks really good. Also under here we have our PSC steering kit, and then your 1-ton steering. This basically makes you be able to turn those big 38s that much easier. So that's your main component there, and then you have your reservoir tank up in the engine compartment, which we'll look at here in a couple minutes. Did do the big brake kit down here as well. These are power stop brakes. I just wanted something that was going to be a little bit stronger and help stop these bigger tires that much easier. So also under here I have the ORO sway lock, and that's this right here. Essentially this is a sway bar, but you do not have to physically disconnect it. If you want it to ride stiff, you just keep this lever in this front position. And then if you want to open up the articulation, you just take this lever and then you just flip it over, and that'll give you full articulation while you're off-road. We did put Artec inner fender liners in here. I did have other inner fender liners. However, the other ones that I have did not work well with the Falcon shocks, so we went with the Artec ones. Swinging around to the rear, this is the OEM rear Dana 44. We just put the ultimate Dana 44 cover on it, and then they painted it and trussed it to match the front. Then put your C gussets, and then you got your Falcon shocks on both sides there. Big brake kits back here as well. You can see the lift, and then the rear track bar. And then your skids for the shocks as well. Turned out really nice back here. My rock rails were all beat up, so the guys over at Neeley's had this extra set of Rubicon rails. So they just cleaned them up for me really good, and they added those onto the Jeep. So we got a couple things going on underneath the hood as well. So the biggest change underneath the hood is I did get a dual battery set up installed in this. I believe it's the Rugged Ridge tray that I used. I forget which one it was. There was like 2 or 3 that I was looking at. And then we just did a isolator, just a cheap one I got off Amazon. So I have the main starter battery for the Jeep, and then the accessory battery, and then I can jump one battery off the other one if one happens to go dead. So in order to squeeze the dual battery setup in there, I had to get rid of my air box, which I was not a fan of, because now I basically got this thing that potentially could suck up water. This is just a temporary solution for right now, just because I do want to eventually probably put the snorkel kit on here. I'm looking at the Rugged Ridge snorkel just because it's very discreet. But yeah, this will work for right now. And then this here is the PSC steering reservoir. And obviously this just leads right down into the PSC steering, which is down below there. Pretty much nothing else except for I do have an ARB air compressor wired in here as well. This was put in probably about a year or so ago back. If I had to do it all over again, I'd probably get the dual compressor, but this one works just fine. So that about wraps up all the new mods on this Jeep. There are a couple things I'm going to walk around and just show you that are just things that I've had done previously. Aftermarket front and rear bumpers. This is a Rugged Ridge bumper. I think it's Rugged Ridge, I don't know. I put it on years ago when I hit a deer. And then the rear one is a Smitty-built XRC bumper. I went with the Smitty-built XRC one just because it had the extra storage space for your extra fuel. I had my high lift jack mounted there, and then a shovel as well. And then obviously we got that big 38-inch tire on there too. Very strong bumper. Yeah, what more can I say about it? On the very top of the Jeep here, I have the Teraflex Nebo roof rack. I installed this a couple of years back right here in this garage. I almost took it to a shop, but it was going to cost an arm and a leg to install it, and it took me the better part of the weekend to get it in. It's very nerve-wracking putting this rack on just because you are drilling directly into your hardtop, because this actually bolts down into the roll cage, which makes it extremely sturdy. But it's been an awesome roof rack. The reason I've liked it is the fact that it is very low profile. I believe it's only 2 to 3 inches up on the Jeep. And this was my main point of concern when I put this new lift and tires on, because this is the highest point of the Jeep, and this is going to be the first thing that was going to hit pulling it into the garage if it did not fit. But luckily it clears with about 1.5 inches of clearance. In the front here, I have a Warren VR 10,000 synthetic winch, which is very dirty right now. I did not clean it after the last time we went wheeling, so I need to pull all that synthetic line out and get it cleaned up and spooled back in. A couple things on the inside of the Jeep here. This is where my lockers were installed. Neeley's installed that about a year or so ago. I do have the heads-up display right here. Just basically shows me my speedometer, and that way I don't have to constantly look down here. Wild boar grab handles, I just got them off Amazon. Since I put this lift on, I'm finding I'm having to use these a lot more. This here is a bar, I forget the name of the company that makes it. Bolts right into the JKU stock holes right here. There's like bolts that you just take out and you put this in. These here are bullet point phone mounts. This here and this one here is a part of it as well. And I modified these a little bit. They do not come with this. I actually went to the hardware store and made this part here. My phone has a magnetic phone case, so these are metal. So when I hop in, I can just throw my phone on it. It sticks right to it. It doesn't move. I do have dash cam, which I feel like everyone should have a dash cam in their vehicle. For comms, we run a CB radio, which is right there. And then we also have the GMRS radio, which is right there. The biggest upgrade that I did the interior of the Jeep here is this Alpine Restyle stereo. This thing is pretty awesome, way better than the stock radio. It's all touch screen, and you do have your hard buttons on the side here. I basically use it to run my Apple CarPlay, and you know, I can just stream all my music and everything through that. The back of the Jeep, nothing too exciting back there. Car seat, got a 5-year-old, gotta have a car seat. Yeah, it's really too dark to show you really anything back there. All right, everybody, that covers just about everything on my JKU build. I'm sure I'm missing a couple things here and there, but we covered about 90% of it. The future for this Jeep is it's my primary rock crawling Jeep, an off-roading Jeep. The Gladiator is going to be more for overlanding, you know, long trips. If we're going to go camping, we'll take the truck. If we're going to go off-roading, we'll probably take the Jeep. Anyway, thanks for watching. I do appreciate the support, and hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for future videos.